Now then, today we're on a wheelbarrow fix. Now, when you've got a place that's got a reasonable size, having one or two wheelbarrows is a bit difficult. There's always something in them, or you want to move in stuff, and so you need more. But so you have to build up a collection over a period of time. And all of these wheelbarrows have come out of skips. Yeah, people just go, normally it's a flat tyre, or like this one here, it's a little bit rusty. Oh, what a shame, what a shame. My wheelbarrow's got a hole in it. Oh, throw it away. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're carting firewood, weeds, that sort of thing, a hole in the bottom is not a problem. Yeah, and you won't be carting water in a wheelbarrow, will you? So there you go. And it's maybe the mentality of it. Anyway, that one there has developed a puncture which wants fixing, because there's no point leaving them and then you end up with half a dozen wheelbarrows all with flat tyres. And this one here, believe it or not, it's like almost new modern, put it like that. And the owners have obviously done exactly the wrong thing. When you've got a flat tyre, you never ever ever run the wheelbarrow, because the first thing that happens is the inner tube gets pulled in through the valve hole, and then if you keep using it, the tyre eventually pops off the rim. So we're going to investigate that one, and we're also going to investigate one that's just over here, and we'll have a look at that one. So this one here is showing the classic signs. The valve stem pulled through the hole, so it's been used with the tyre flat, but it's quite a heavy duty wheelbarrow, and it doesn't look like it's been really abused, so this might be quite a nice unit. But one of the things that stops most amateurs from fixing the tyre is these bolts, and they're what you call a coach bolt, so they're round headed on the other side, and the first thing that happens is they can't undo those, so they abandon ship. Well, if you can't undo them, you just cut them off and put fresh ones in. And let's just turn round over to see that white wheelbarrow with the flat tyre, just there. And that's exactly what's happened there. One side it's got the old original bolts. You only have to undo one side. So I've obviously cut the bolts off and put new bolts in there with hex heads on the top. So let's go and have an adventure into fixing the inner tube on several wheelbarrow tyres. Well, let's just have a go at these. I mean, normally I wouldn't bother. I just cut them off with the angle grinder. But I appreciate that some people won't have an angle grinder. So there's some penetrating oil there. And now we want a spanner. You could leave that for a few minutes to soak in. There we go. See, that's exactly what happens. The bolt spins. And then Joe Average just gives up. So I'm just going to do some wrong things, but let's put a pair of mole grips or vice grips on the threads and I know it damages the thread, but this is going to be rejected anyway. Now, I don't know whether you can see, but that is moving now. Let me try it on the other one from the other side. There, it's moving. So there's a possibility we've saved this one, although, as I say, I'm not going to use these bolts again. Right, we're up against the vice grips now. Now, this is plastic. When I started fixing wheelbarrow tyres, these were cast iron. And you would grease them. I think now I would use some red rubber grease in there, or silicone grease. Do you know what? I think this is going to be mostly a success. We'll tap that through, and then I'll put the vice grips on the bottom and undo it. So I'll just switch the camera off and finish that off. So I've just wire brushed that again, and now I've got the mole grips, or the vice grips, on the head, and it could be that we're up against a damaged thread here. So let's just wind it on a bit and work it backwards and forwards. Yeah, doesn't want to go. The vice grips have jammed in place, so it is actually going. But again, for your average person who's not done this before, this would be a point where they'd give up. What I'm saying is, don't, because you can always cut that off. Can we get the wheel out yet? We can. So that's the wheel out, but we really need to get rid of that bolt. So you just get the angle grinders, or you push that up and use a hacksaw in there. Cut the bolt off, whatever you do. Should we get a hacksaw and do it? Right. Let's use a baby hacksaw, or what's called a junior hacksaw, because again, some people might not have a full-size hacksaw. So we just cut it off. Now you don't want to see me cutting the rest of this off, so we'll cut to the chase. So let's just see. There we go, pop. So don't let these bolts put you off. Those we don't need to do anything about. This one we got it sorted. Right, next thing, the tyre. Okay. It feels actually like it's still got a bit of air in it. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Tyre levers. Don't use screwdrivers. Use tyre levers. No sharp bits. So what you have to do is you've got to push that side down and pull this side up. So that needs to go in. And you've got to be careful not to damage the inner tube. You can see this tyre's not brilliant, but we're not going to be doing 70 miles an hour down the road on it, are we? Okay, so that's one side done. Let's flip it over and push that down. Let's flip it over, and I'm right, there's a bit of air in this inner tube still, which means there's nothing wrong with it. So just run your hand round like that, feeling for any sharp spiky bits. Yeah, I know. If there's a sharp spiky bit you might cut your hand, but you're just feeling gently. I can't find anything. So now we need to put the valve back in there. And this is a valve stem tool with just a little notch in it. These are called Schrader valves. And you actually get valve stem caps with the valve notch in there, and this is on a little holder. So let's just go and pump this up and see if there's any air coming out. Anyway, this is it blown up, and it's been in the tank of water and there are no leaks. I'm not going to continue with this wheel, or I am, but the next bit you'll see will be doing the other wheel, which I know has got a puncture. This is just a bit weird that the way it turned out, but I'll just point out to you now that the valve stem, they're not symmetrical. So you look where it is there, and you look where it is there, so they're to one side. So that needs to be on the same side as the hole in the wheel, because if you put it that way round and then you pump it up, the valve stem pulls inside the wheel, which may have happened in this case. I didn't actually take much notice of where the valve stem was when I pulled the tyre out, but that could have been the case. Somebody might have put a new inner tube in and put it in the wrong way round, and it pulled back in as you pumped it up, and they couldn't pump it up all the way. So we'll crack on with the next wheelbarrow. Right, here's that other wheelbarrow, and as you can see, I've replaced these bolts before. So we'll just undo those. These are 8mm by about 50mm long, or thereabouts, and they've put washers on them. And if you notice, I've greased the bolts before I put them in, because you know it might be 5 years before you take this apart again. So just grease them, as with my car repair videos. When you're putting a bolt back in, wire brush it up and grease it. That way it comes undone. And if you notice on this one, I put a nut there to space the bolt down so we don't have half a mile of thread sticking out this end, which of course collects all the muck and then maybe starts rusting and stuff like that. So all you want is it just to there. So space it out the bottom. It'll save you time in the future. Take that out. There we go. Let's have a look at this wheel now. So we've got the valve stand poking out. So the first thing to do would be to... Still got a bit of air in it, but I know this one goes down. Take the valve out, put it carefully to one side. Now you notice here I've put a piece of rubber behind that because there's some splits there. So now we want the levers. So let's have the valve stem there, shall we? There we go. There's that covering patch to cover these holes up. And as you can see, this tube has had a hard time. 1, 2, 3, 4 patches. So we run our hand on the inside, see if we can find any sharp bits. Normally it's a thorn just stuck through. So when you're doing hawthorn hedges, the next day you've got a wheelbarrow with a flat tyre, but I can't find anything there. So the next thing to do is put the valve in and pump it up and stick it in the tank. So here we are at the water tank, and as you can see I put quite a reasonable amount of pressure in this. That's just water draining off the hole in the side of the tank, but I can't see any rising bubbles. So it could have been the valve. That's unfortunate for the demonstration. I'll probably have to go and find an inner tube with a hole in it. Well, you get the idea. Let's go and find another inner tube. So this is that inner tube that I got with the wheelbarrow from out the skip, and you can see a couple of big holes, so we need to fix those. So we need to find out where they are. Well, there's one in the side wall there, so let's fix that one first. So there it is. So let's just mark it with a wax crayon, but it's in line with the 3 and just the other side of that moulding bar. So let's just clean up the rubber. I've already wiped it down to get rid of any water, so that'll do. Now I happen to have a pot of the glue, but sometimes, I mean, you can use bicycle repair for this, the bicycle repair kit, but I'm using this because I've got it. So never lend your glue out. And here we've got some patches. Bought these off the net because I couldn't get them locally. They're 50mm. I think 50 was £6 delivered. And you're better off buying 50, then you've got plenty. So what we've got to do now is wait for all that glue to set, to dry off. And it's quite a warm and humid day today. And this, just stick it inside your shirt to keep it warm. Yeah, if it's a cold day, do this inside next to the stove. Put the glue on and then go inside. And this wants to be really nice and warm, because the gluing action is helped with heat. It's called vulcanizing, and the two bits of rubber tend to mold together. So sometimes you can warm some bit of aluminium up and then just poke it on top of this patch once it's glued in place, and it will just help things to vulcanize that much quicker. So that just goes inside my shirt, and somewhere in my box of bits, there we go, that's an 044 piston, so you can warm that up with a blowtorch, not hot, just warm, and then just poke it on top of the patch. Now I know we're in line with the tree, and I can actually see it's a little cut actually. So I'll let that glue or dry for another minute or so. The patch is warmed up. Now the thing is not to touch this surface. There. Right, where's those vice grips? Here they are. That's warm enough. And we just hold that on there for a short while. In the past, motorcycle shops used to have a little clamp, well, quite a big bench mounted clamp, and the pressing plate, as it were, the head of it, had a 12-volt coil in it, and you would attach that to a 12-volt battery, and it would warm the head up, so you could clamp the tube in that arrangement and it would cook the patch for a while. Just helps to get things going. And that's warm, you see, so that's just helping that all to work together. Okay, now we had another hole. I'm just going to see whether I can see it. And it was around here somewhere. So it was probably the original puncture. I think we'll need to go back into the tank. So let's get on with that. I won't put quite so much pressure in this time, because I don't want to push that patch off. So I found the holes there and there, and the main thing is, if you're going to put patches on, make sure all the air is out. Don't glue a patch on whilst there's air in the tube, because what happens is the tube then distorts. So I've roughed that up. With some emery paper, and now let's just, and dried it all off. Let's put plenty of glue on there, and I've tried to get rid of the sharp bits on these ribs with that emery paper. It's a warm day, so that will go off quite quickly. Take 4. So here we go. I've put the valve in, pumped her up. Not as much pressure as before, but a reasonable amount, and we have no leaks. So this tyre had a hole on the side there and a hole on the side there, probably from just being run flat. So let's put it back together then. So that's the inner tube, and this is the tyre. So let's remove the tyre from the rim, and there's a load of sand in there, so I'm just going to blow that out, and then let's just feel around here. No, can't find anything. Let's go and blow that sand out, because we don't want that in there. Okay, so that's that done. There's a few little rough bits on the edge of the rim there, but that should be alright. There's little flats actually, just there, where it's actually as if it's just been skidded along the ground. That is weird. Anyway, there's a bit more sand there. I thought I got it all out. There you go. Now, we want this to be up at the top. So let's put the wheel on this way. And we'd like the rim, the bead, on the inside of the rim this time. So let's just put this block of wood under there. Okay, so what we've got is the underside, the rim is on the inside. The bead is on the inside of the rim. Then we remove the valve. Okay, remember, upwards, the valve sticks upwards. So we push this like that, and we stick that through the hole, and then get your fingers in there and lift the tyre up. Hopefully you can see what's going on. Now we don't want that valve stem to disappear down that hole, so I'm just holding the valve stem like that. Okay, now then, because this has been a bit abused, now just watch this. I'm just there by the valve, and all you do, and if you have problems with this you can use a tyre lever, but this bit there is right up inside the well of the wheel. If you use a tyre lever, you've got to be really careful not to pinch the rim. You can see how I'm just pushing that round, just gently. Just with the heel of your hand. If you're not strong enough, you have to use a lever or two. But you know, you can quite easily trap that inner tube then. That's back on. Let's put some air in it. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, those rings are fairly concentric with the rim, so the tyre is evenly spaced all the way around the outside. And here we are, one wheelbarrow fixed, absolutely perfect. And as you can see from inside the skip, it's almost new. And there's even a price ticket on here, £39.99. But there you go, a wheelbarrow fixed. Catch up with you soon.